Hello, welcome to Toffee TV. It's that time of the year again when we look back on the season, the players. We've already done our season review, so make sure you check that out. We're starting with the defence going through how they performed, in our opinion, over the season. Ped, let's begin with Jordan Pickford, Everton's goalkeeper, ever present again, finished the season as captain as well. I think he's had a really, really strong season.
I would go as far as saying I think this is his most consistent season in terms of like no sort of like major sort of highs to sort of hide maybe other issues. Just an absolute steady, no problems, maybe the odd stupid thing, kick, distribution, you know, little thing.
Small thing.
But not I think in terms of like the whole season, I think this was his best overall season, just fully consistent the whole season.
He's really, he had those erratic moments early in his Everton career, hasn't he? But always go back to when he come back for the derby win at Anfield and COVID, and he was brilliant, and he'd said he'd spent some time with a sports psychologist or, you know, doing things, and his consistency levels seem to have got better and better since then. But I think you're right, he's probably had overall his best season in an Everton shirt. I know he was good when he first came, but I think from start to finish it's not been meant. You'd always look at a goalie and go, could he have done better? I look at like the Ipswich goal, the second header, and think, the second goal, and think, could he have done a bit? But you'd always do that with goalkeepers, with whoever they are. You'd examine everything. But I think overall he's been brilliant. It's a huge reason why Everton are still a Premier League football club over the last few years. But I think this year he's been excellent. I think he actually got better and better when David Moyes come in as well. I think he finished the season so strongly.
We're the only team in the Premier League to have not had a penalty scored against us last season. That's an actual stat. Obviously,
made the shave, Matney Gordon.
The Gordon one was huge, and it was obviously a lot was made of it. And as I said, I don't think he didn't have one of those. He didn't have like you know, the Chelsea save and like that. But I think that's more to do with our defence being a lot better. I just thought his consistency was really, really good, really calm. As I said, for the most part, his distribution's fine. He has those odd little wobbles, but I mean, you're picking holes, aren't you? In very, very little. And of course, yeah, you could probably say there might be this goal or that goal, but I don't think there was anything too major. No. I think it was really, really consistent, and we're the international thing, they'll probably try and pull them apart again, like they always do. But like, I mean, if you look at the other goalies out there, if it really bothers anybody, I know it's funny because I do see people saying, "Why does it matter if he's England #1?" But it matters because if he's happy, and that means he's going to stay at Everton, and Everton are going to have a good goalkeeper, then of course that is important, you know. But he's just, I think he's been absolutely fine. He's been great this season, and there's a calmness there.
Well, Everton have had and he has had, what was it, the second most clean sheets in the Premier League, you know. David Raya, was it, and Sells of Forest.
Sells, yeah.
Who had the most, but Pickford was then just underneath that. So he's had a really good season. He's comfortably England's best goalkeeper by some margin, really. They can talk up Dean Henderson and people like that all they want, but the miles behind Pickford at the moment. But you're right, I mean, me personally, I go, I'm not bothered whether he plays for England, but for him it's massively important, and it also means he's really settled at Everton. And I think as well, another thing, it's a big example to other players, I think, that you can play for Everton. You know, there's a lot of made over Jarrad Branthwaite. We'll come on to him in a minute. Does he need to move to play for England? Well, Jordan Pickford's shown that no, you just play well for your club and you end up playing. So for score, whether you buy into that or you don't, had his rating at 7.24, which is the second highest rating ever, or certainly up there in the top of Everton's players for the ratings over the season. I think that's like me. Also was an ever-present 38 Premier League games out of 38. Moving on, I've got Sheamus Coleman next just because he is the club captain, of course. He made 5 appearances last season, 3 starts overall. A season that was hugely disappointing, I think, for him. But also, I think a season where I feel he's sort of made his mind up that it's coming to the end. I'm not saying he won't, because we still at the time of doing this, we still don't know if he's going to stay on as a player. David Moyes has sort of hinted he will, but I think it literally will be as a back up, if that makes sense. He'd be more for the group, keeping them going, because he is doing his coaching and he's doing more and more on that. And I think David Moyes has talked about him going into his coaching setup at some stage anyway. But it has been a little bit of a disappointing season for Sheamus, that the few times he did start, he had to leave the pitch injured, particularly the last game.
But he got injured pre-season, didn't he, against Roma, which sort of kicked it all off. I think the saddest part for me is that he's not transitioning with somebody else coming through. He's not like Patterson's not like got hold of it and isn't like transitioning like we saw Dean coming in for Baines. And that's more the sad thing, is that it feels like that position still needs to be filled, and that's more it's a worry and it's a disappointment. But yeah, he'll know himself. That's not where he wants to be, and for a fella like him, and it's you can't really say anything about his season because he hasn't really had one. From like 40 odd games, 41, 42 games we had last season. He's only played 5, so sad, but. Maybe we'll find out soon what he's going to do. His
SOFA score rating was 6.68 across those 5 appearances. Nathan Patterson, going through him, you just mentioned him, talk about him. He made 10 appearances overall, started 3 games in that 10. 6.69 SOFA score given for his rating. A player who has been here for 3.5 years now. He signed a 5.5 year deal when he come. And I'd say the fan base is split. I think the only way it's split is half think he's definitely not good enough, and the other half have no clue, because we don't have a clue. So it doesn't really matter which of those camps you fall into. None of us, I think, can say with any real confidence that Nathan Patterson is ready to just take Everton's position at right back and make it his own. And that's a massive disappointment for me, because I think he's definitely got some really good attributes that he could have done that. He's just not been able to do. He hasn't been able to convince Frank Lampard. He wasn't able to convince Sean Dyche. David Moyes gave him a go, and he was quickly back out. So I feel like Nathan's at a crossroads really coming into this summer.
He's living off 6 games that he had under Frank Lampard.
The start.
Basically, isn't he? He's living off them. It's one of them, isn't it? It's like sometimes you see a player who plays loads of games under different managers, and you go, see, all those managers can't be wrong. You've got to almost apply the same logic to this. All the managers probably can't be wrong. He's just never kicked on because he's never been fit, and even this season didn't come into the team till later on because he's not fit. He wasn't fit. Don't think he got on with the last manager. We don't know why, and
that's stunted this.
And it's sad that you bring in someone like that, and he's just got injured at every step. Every step he's got injured, and you wonder how long you can make till you can make a decision. Maybe he'll be given the pre-season, and that's when that decision will be made, whether he's going to be kept or sold or played. I can't see myself in playing many games for us unless he comes back and it's just, I don't know, there's something, I don't know, just not changed in like ability, but I don't know, stronger,
confident,
quicker, more confident, more confident in his own ability. We'll wait and see, but not a good season for him, especially the way it ended.
He should have really been in, shouldn't he? He should have been in. Well, one person who clearly the last manager didn't rate, but they get in the team. David Moyes put him in at right back. Is Jake O'Brien, and he had an excellent time. It has to be said. He made that right back position his own. Everton stopped losing games of football. He ended up playing in his proper position, what he would say centre back, for the last 5 games because of an injury to James Tarkowski. 20 appearances in the Premier League, 17 starts, 2 goals from Jake. I think he finished the season really strongly.
He was great. He was, for a player that we obviously only saw bits of, and I remember seeing him last summer when he was playing for Ireland. I think he was playing England actually, and he'd already signed. And I don't know. He just didn't look. He didn't look confident in himself. Looked a bit nervous, and then we saw him in the game against Roma, and they scored. I think. Or saying he got.
No, he had a chance.
So he had got a chance where he let the ball go across him, and and then the man got past him, and there was a little bit of like, ooh, is he not got that little bit of pace or? But it takes time, and rather than give him opportunities, it's difficult when you're relying on your defence. You don't want to change it that much, but I don't know. Sean Dyche didn't believe in him whatsoever. Couldn't see the option of playing him at right back, just couldn't picture him playing at right back, where David Moyes obviously thought this is a good player and I need to find a position for him, and right back obviously was glaringly there, would strengthen the defence, but obviously thought he was a good enough footballer as well to be able to play and have a bit of attacking now, but also have him on the pitch for the opportunities from set pieces, crosses coming in late at the back post like we saw against Brentford, and he took it on and he never looked back. And again, it's having a bit of confidence, isn't it? And now he's in the Ireland, being the Ireland team, and he's a Premier League regular, and he's finished the season in his own position, and he's finished it with a couple of clean sheets. Looked a little bit nervous against Chelsea, but he's ended up having three wins out of 3 in the last few games. So being part of that defence, so brilliant. Absolutely something to build on for next season. A bargain in many ways as well. An absolute bargain.
15 million quid for an international footballer who played a season in Europe, of course, and Lyon ended up their second top scorer or something, and just come in and, like I said, added a couple of goals, 2 important goals as well, got us a point at Brentford and then a point at home to West Ham with a late header, and should probably score more, the size of him, and hopefully that's what he'll bring next season. But I think he finished the season brilliantly, and I do, given Everton haven't sorted that right back position out, I do wonder if David Moyes is thinking, well, there's no panic there because he does a good job there. And now a lot of people, and you look at other modern fullbacks, and the wingers really now, aren't they? You wonder whether Everton will be looking for that as well, because David Moyes does like attacking fullbacks. But Jake O'Brien, like you said, finished the season with sort of, important performance of Fulham. It was a Fulham who's good. Then at home to Southampton, which was comfortable, and then to go to Newcastle on the last day, and he had Isak back and all that, and he done a brilliant job, kept the clean sheet there. It'll have done him the world of good as well. So I think he's been, like you said, a real bargain. The size, the stature of him and everything. And, back in the international fold as well. So he's done brilliantly. His rating over the season was 6.93. So not bad at all. Ashley Young, who did have a spell it seemed to be nailed on, a right back for Sean Dyche. He ended up playing 32 times for Everton last season, 19 starts. Most of them were under Sean Dyche. And at one stage, we were talking just off camera before we started, in that spell before Christmas, he was probably Everton's most consistent player till David Moyes come in and obviously changed it. But he was a really good signing for Everton, free transfer. I think the last manager, to the players' detriment, used them all the time in everything, and it sometimes caught up with them a little bit. I think David Moyes used them exactly how people thought he might be used, and I think fan appreciation of that went up rapidly as well. But he had a really good season for Everton. I think he ended with 4 assists, I think, or 5 assists or something, and he got a goal obviously against, I think it was Wolves, wasn't he? So a good, really good pro, a player who I think both of us would have sort of gone, I understand that if he'd have stayed for another season, but it has come out like he is leaving. But I think overall he had a really solid season.
I really liked him. He was available all the time. That was one of the things. He was available, and that speaks volumes for a player of that age, that he's available and he's always available to play, and he could play right back and he could play left back. I imagine in the dressing room he was unbelievable. I imagine you've heard little bits of it, but I imagine he was an amazing leader. And he understood that it was like there was that little thing of like maybe he could be this scapegoat now and again, and obviously early on, Brighton obviously being sent off and things like that. I think once he realised that he just wasn't the player he used to be pace-wise, then maybe something clicked in him, and I think he adapted. But I always thought when you watched him, he had the tenacity, and he just understood the position and understood the game still at that age. And I'd have definitely kept him on. Obviously, Everton offered him a contract, but he's gone. He looks like he's going to go. I don't know where he's going to go. Be really interesting to see where he goes. But just
he said he never got offered a contract though, which was really weird. He said Everton didn't offer him a contract, which is there was a bit of contradiction there, wasn't it? So it's a bit of an odd one.
Yeah, and I think the only disappointment for him this season was Darren Ferguson's a tit.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I understood why he didn't bring his son on, because his son's not like his son's not this amazing player for Peterborough, and it was 1-0 for a very long time, and and like as he said, it was like, this isn't a testimonial. This is an FA Cup.
But he also put players on who were absolutely dreadful. Darren Ferguson.
Yeah, he could have left. Dreadful. He could have just left one player. He could have left one sub. Sorry, for the last 10 minutes and gone. Yeah, here's the quiz question for you. But he decided not to, and that was a little bit arse.
No, Ashley Young wasn't impressed with him, to say the least. But no, the good season overall, and 6.9 rating off SofaScore for the 32 games, which is good. Especially for a team who was absolutely garbage in the first half of the season, for them to be getting that. And obviously could play right back, left back.
See, did he score the only direct free kick?
Yeah, because Everton don't score direct free kicks. So, there you go. Wasn't it the first direct free kick in the league since Luca Dean, 2018 against Watford? Yeah. At Goodison. Vitaliy Mykolenko, who I thought had an excellent season. I did. I think Mykolenko, I've said it consistently, that 1v1, he's a brilliant defender. He really is. If you need someone man marking, he's the man to do it. No one gives him a tough time. Nobody. Mykolenko's deficiencies are going forward. In a world where I think if Everton had a raiding right back who was up and down and creating things, I think Miko on the other side would drop into almost make it the 3 at the back. I think people would have a lot more. Not that people don't have appreciation for him, but I mean the need would be less. I think the problem Everton have had, and this was when Young was right back, because Ashley Young did sort of realise he couldn't bomb up and down, so he ended up staying, and Miko didn't. Could have been instruction off it was instruction off the other manager, because clearly David Moyes has made him much higher. He wasn't going forward the way and I might have a go with him because he's not brilliantly skillful, but he's a really, really good defender. Mykolenko, I thought he had a really solid season for Everton. He had 35 appearances, 35 starts. Every game he's fit, he plays. Ended up with 1 goal. I thought he had a really good season. I thought he got better when David Moyes came in as well.
I thought he had a wobble at the start because he wasn't fit, and you could tell he was playing not fit, and it was like he wasn't fit, Tarky wasn't fit, and it just felt like the right back situation was all over the place, and obviously Michael Keane was playing, so the defence early on, and obviously we can see the goals. But once he settled down, and then I think under Moyes, he's attacking, and then you see, not on the last day of the season, it was like, not only the goal he scored, but there was another one where Carlos Alcaraz almost scored that from an header, and there was so much space for him to run in, and it was like he's being told, start running into that space, be the option, be the wide player. You know, you're allowed to now. You're allowed to, and I think there was, you know, he ended up with a couple of assists, and he hadn't had an assist for Everton at all. No. He ends up with a couple of assists. Obviously, got the goal against Fulham. A little bit lucky, but you got to be there to take the shot. So he's a very competent fullback, and anyone who tries to take him on the outside's got a really difficult job. Very, very solid, player. Can we improve? Yes, we can improve. But he needs someone anyway there, doesn't he? He needs someone to really push him, and maybe a better attacking player will bring his game on as well. But a lot of teams would buy for that, like consistency. That level of consistency. Yeah, I think he had a good season.
his rating 6.99, just under the 7. So, you know, overall Everton's third best defender. Jarrad Branthwaite, 30 appearances last season, 28 starts, no goals. Shocking, Jarrad, shocking for someone your size. Should have scored against Man City as well at 0-0, really. But, you know, again, I think someone who's clearly injured, got injured, was recovering in pre-season and then had a setback, come in, was excellent against Palace and then got injured in training, and then Sean Dyche blamed the fans for wanting Branthwaite to play, even though we played against Palace and was brilliant and we won. But then once he got in, I think it was a slow burner at the start, but again, David Moyes in his performance has got better and better and better and better as the season went on, I thought, with Tarkowski, and he got injured, didn't he, against Southampton near the end and missed the Newcastle win, but I think overall had a good season. Not as good as last year.
No, it wasn't.
But whereas last year, if you like, was his sort of breakout season, I think it's a really solid second season.
Yeah, I think it shows how important pre-season is to get that foundational level of fitness. I just don't think he had it, and I think that showed up in some games. And there's still obviously things he has to learn. I think he needs to be a bit more aggressive. I think he has to want to do a little bit more of trying to deal with the danger a little bit earlier, trying to cut out crosses, things like that. Maybe
because we had like the City goal.
That's like being aggressive and thinking I'm going to stop this ball coming in. I think there's still things in there he has to work on. You know, and they just you see with Tarky, that's big part of his game is how aggressive he is, how he loves stopping stuff before it becomes a problem. I think that's all it is. I don't think he was, oddly enough, I don't think he got on the ball as much under Moyes than I think he did last season, and come out with it as much. I think there was a little, but I think he played higher, so it wasn't like he needed to be as deep with the ball because we played a little bit higher. So yeah, listen, I just hope that he's back training for pre-season, and it's not like he's going to miss doing the 21s Euros, isn't it? It's not a bad thing, but hopefully he's back in pre-season and he's back at it again, and he gets to bed in, and because
I think it's only, but I don't think it was a bad hamstring injury there for rest, not playing in that tournament. He should be available for the start of pre-season. And I think it'll do him the world of good, because like you say, he didn't have one last year, if you remember, when Everton went over, can you call it a pre-season? Whatever they were doing in Ireland, he was walking, he was just starting to get back on the bike and all that, and then it disappeared again, so we obviously felt it, and then he had to reset and start again and all that. So hopefully he'll be available for day one of pre-season and he can really build into it, and it's a World Cup year, so you know he's going to want to have a good year, and who knows, Everton looking at offering him a new contract, I think. But they're going to have to. He's got 2 years left. They're going to have to do something with it. So, new contract, ready to go pre-season, and hopefully he can have an outstanding season next season. But I did think he had a real solid season for the second season. So, 7.02 was his rating overall from SofaScore. So,
people can pick holes in him. But when you look at how many goals Everton conceded,
he's a really, really good defender. Can play with both. You don't know which foot's better. He plays with both. He had the assist against Liverpool. You know, to Beto, great little ball, bends into him and he slots it, and he's had those moments, and we want to see more of it, because he's a cracking player and real big talent. His defensive partner, James Tarkowski, 33 starts for Everton, played 33 times. He was on for 3 short of breaking the record, wasn't he, when he got a hamstring injury against Manchester City, ended it with 1 goal. It was a hugely vital goal against Liverpool, of course, at the street end. Mr. Consistent. Okay, had a couple of moments in the season. Bournemouth, off the top of my head at home, in the FA Cup, he had an absolute nightmare, and he had a couple of wobbles in the other games, but that's about it. He's been an absolutely tremendous signing. Free transfer, come in, plays, he's available he was available till the City game. Every minute of every game, most blocks in the Premier League, clean sheets galore, a leader. Sometimes I've had to go on for stupidity because I think sometimes almost emotion boils. It's not very often, but it's wrecked. Like the derby could have easily gone in that Merseyside derby.
His profile this season has gone up based off 2 Merseyside derbies, haven't he? The good, the good and the bad. Scores that goal, and then the tackle against Liverpool, if you want to call it a tackle, it's something that we have seen. He did it at Southampton early on in the season, but we've seen it 3 or 4 times. We all pay attention. Other people outside don't pay attention. We've seen that 3 or 4 times. Just a simple winning the ball, and he does this stupid, I'll show you, I'm the hard man, which he doesn't have to do.
Yeah, we know he's hard.
He doesn't have to do that, but he's done that 3 or 4 times, and it showed in that Merseyside derby, and he should have been sent off, and it could have been massively, a massive damaging effect for us. And I think he learned his lesson from that, because I think after that,
the aftermath of it, wasn't it?
The aftermath and being called out and being like, this should have happened and that should have happened, that probably would affect you. Like, and he seemed a bit cheapest after, and I think that might make him a better player. That might make it. I just think we've seen that so many times, and we saw it at Chelsea last season, and we ended up getting beat 6-0. Because he was going round like
he was a headless chip.
Yeah, he was just being stupid on the ball.
A lot of them were like that.
The Bournemouth game was ridiculously poor. How bad he was in that. He gave one away and then gives one, and basically both 2 goals were given to him by them. And he sort of acknowledged that, and it's just like hoping now, because he's so consistent, and obviously his levels makes him one of the best rated players in Europe. He's in the team of the year in the Premier League and in stats. If you go, So
he's one of only 2, I think, in the Premier League and the European team of the year. For a defender who's playing for a team that was, relegation threatened in the first half of the season, and come back really strong second half, to be in that rate. And people can go, so what, it's a ratings thing, but it's scored on things you do in a game, which is probably...
He scored on more realistic things, like the things that actually happen in games.
No, that's what I mean.
Oh, isn't he great?
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying.
It's that kind of thing. Oh, he
look at the way he points.
He speaks really well, doesn't he? No one ever goes past him. I mean, they do quite a lot. Haven't you noticed this?
Look over there, look over there.
It's all real stuff. It's all real stuff, but... Hopefully, you don't have to do any of that stuff. Everyone knows how good you are. You don't have to put 6 studs into someone's leg.
We know you're solid.
That doesn't, people can go, it's a great tackle, that in my day. Not in your day, mate. If this is football the way it is now, you just can't do that kind of thing.
And I think he has. I think you're right. He has acknowledged it, and he has sort of gone, probably, looking back. And hopefully he'll take that forward. But he was really, really shot. And again, some fans will move him on, and it's like, no, what are you? He's brilliant. He really is. And the ratings show that. Everton's highest rated defender, 7.30. More.
Well, there was that thing of like, is it now time to have a look at have a look at O'Brien and Son? It's like, no, don't. Do you know when it breaks, you'll all be gutted. You'll all be gutted when it breaks, because that's what happens. You'll all be gutted. You don't need to have a look at someone in a position just because one day it might.
No, I was looking. I'll be honest, because I had said, is it when coming towards the end, would you have a look at it? Because you're trying to make a decision on, is O'Brien really a centre-back, or do we need another one because he's a right-back? But that was more to protect Tarkowski as well, to go plays every minute of every game. But you're absolutely right. But you're right, because he's one of those players, only 32, I think.
Yeah.
We're old enough to have watched Richard Gough, who was unbelievable at 38. We watched Alan Stubbs and David Weir, who were mid-30s, doing brilliantly. Distan, 35, was really consistent. Jags. So a lot of these Everton centre-backs who have been so consistent, that's a key area of a team. David Moyes really appreciates that, because everything else you can build from it. Tarkowski's still a few years away from being where they were. The manager he doesn't suffer fools, David Moyes. If levels start dropping, He will be out the team, and he's been brilliant for me. And what a signing. You know, and again, you know, Frank Lampard convinced him to come, and obviously Kevin Thelwell was involved in that, and it was a brilliant signing for nothing. You know, when the Villa wanted him, he chose Everton over Villa and all that, and he's been great for us. And him being part of it, Branthwaite, I think, has developed a lot with him. I think O'Brien will learn a lot from him, and that's what you'd have to take. But yeah, Everton's highest rated defender, 33 games, the 1 goal. And again, I look at him, I look at Branthwaite, I look at Jake O'Brien, and I think you need to put the ball in the net more next season. You really do.
The only problem with them is they all get posted at the back post and knock the ball back into the box.
I know, well, Tarkowski's the best at that, but the others have got to get on the end of it, because the next person we're going to talk about didn't play anywhere near as many as them and scored 3 goals, which is Michael Keane, who ended up with 14 Premier League appearances, 11 starts, 3 goals, which is, you know, it's Keane now, isn't it? Again, Michael Keane is such an enigma of a player, because when he's on it, he looks like a really good defender. You know, he's calm on the ball at times. He comes up with a goal, but when he loses a little bit of confidence, all of a sudden everyone can feel it, can't he? But I think he come in at the end of the season. His contract's clearly up. You know, in a few weeks. He come in at the end of the season, he played a few games. You know, I was down at Fulham, I thought he was excellent at Fulham, and David Moyes took him out actually for the home game against Southampton. He was back on the bench, and then he come back in at Newcastle. Everton had the clean sheets. You know, he played in back-to-back away wins for Everton. So as a 4th choice centre-back, I mean, he's been there. He's, you know, he do a job, and I understand he might move on. It's probably for him. If I'm him, I'm probably thinking, if I've got options to go somewhere and play, I'm going. For Everton, you'd understand for David Moyes if Michael Keane was like, yeah, I don't mind being 4th choice. But where are you with it? Because I mean, he does have these peaks and troughs, Michael, lately. And it's
after the City game, I mean, when he came on against City, he was dreadful. It was almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, the City thing. It was like he came on and Tarky goes off and everyone's like, oh my God. And then and it's almost like he senses that, like he knows. But when he started a game, maybe it's not that sort of, if you can get out your system as well, because they were away games, obviously there's less fans there. Listen, if he signs a contract, he signs a contract. Again, if he's 4th choice, I don't think we've got a manager who's like tempted to play him in games, whereas the last fella you weren't always sure, because he was like, he's one of mine, sort of thing. I'll piss you all off the fan base by playing him. If they keep him, they keep him. If you know, if it's part of a plan to allow us to bring in other positions, and it's one less position to fill this summer, then I can see the sense in that. If they don't, they don't. I think Michael Keane is, for what we paid and the longevity, it probably balances itself out.
Yeah. He's been a decent sign overall, hasn't he? He's been here for 8 years. We paid 25 million quid for him 8 years ago. Should he have done better? I think he should have, with the attributes he's got. But I just think maybe he just hasn't got a bit of what Tarky's got about him, a bit of devilment about him.
Because he's never, you know that because he's never wanted, like the captain. I've said this loads of times. You can that gives you an insight to his to what he is as a player. He just wants to be left alone. He just looks like a
really nice fella. Yeah, who's a good footballer.
He's not an alpha.
He's got a goal in him. Yeah. And you know that, and that's it. And sometimes you've got to be. As an Evertonian, you've got to be a bit of a dog.
As an Evertonian, we will remember Michael Keane for the goals he scored. And he's a centre back.
Yeah. And a lot of people want to play him up front. Overall, he finished with a rating of 6.94.
Tremendous.
3 goals. So we'll see if that's it. If that's Michael Keane done, then you know he finished in back-to-back away wins for Everton. Played centre back, so brilliant. And then the only other player who played at the back for Everton last season was Roman Dixon, who made 1 appearance, 1 start at Tottenham. Got a rating of 6.2 on the day. Had a couple of EFL Cup games.
He sort of...
But he was...
It's very interesting, wasn't it? Because, I mean, we wanted to throw this in because it's just an honourable mention. because it was weird. Because we were running out of right back. Sheamus Coleman got injured. We should have brought him on against Roma to give him experience. We didn't, knowing full well what was going to happen. And then it happens. You get, Young gets sent off. We've got no other right backs, and it was almost like fan power that got him into the team, or the manager almost going, "Oh yeah, I'll play him. Yeah, I'll show you." And he played, and he did all right. He got 20 minutes. He was like, the pace was done, but he was all right. But he played in the League Cup, and he done the foul for the Southampton goal.
But he was all right in that.
I know, but if it was just, for me, it was more like the judgment of making that foul.
Yeah, there was no need to make it,
and it was just like for a Premier League manager, it was almost like going, that gives me the excuse to never play this lad ever again. And sadly, I don't know. There hasn't been like glowing reports about him in the under-21s. He probably should have gone on loan. The change of manager and whatever.
Because he did do all right in the Doncaster Cup game. We beat Doncaster 3-0 at home, obviously, and he done all right. And then obviously he'd had the Spurs experience, but the Southampton one, because they were, even though it was a changed team, they were a Premier League side, and he did put a silly tackle in when he didn't need to, and they scored. And that, for a manager like Sean Dykes, that was almost like...
Well, he was trying to be clever when he made that foul. Like, he was trying to be like, I'll show you, and he's done something stupid, and he scored from it. And I think, it to be fair, it is fine margins in the Premier League, isn't it? It is. The quality can catch it. They've equalised, they beat us on penalties, and we're like, that didn't have to happen. And there's been nothing since to suggest that there's going to be any reason for him to put him in. He's not. We're not sitting here going, Dixon next season. Oh, you watch. We're not, are we? We're sitting going, is he even going to be with us next season? And that's the sad thing, is that he started the season, he got games at the beginning of the season. We've not seen him since. 40-year-olds, 36-year-olds ahead of him. And
he's got pace, real pace, hasn't he? And for himself,
sad.
Alone, but yeah, like you say, 6.2 overall. That's it. That's all the defence. Let us know what you think in the comments. They were
pretty good.
They were
pretty good.
No, they were. The defence was very good. There was probably said this, I think, earlier. Well, I said it all season, really. We had a Champions League defence. If you look at did. If you look at the numbers, they're a Champions League team defensive numbers. The midfield, not so great, and the forward numbers were terrible. But we'll see what the ratings did with those. Because they all got better, put it that way. This would have been a very different ratings at Christmas, I can tell you. Although the defence probably wouldn't have been, other than Jake O'Brien, because they have overall been solid. But let us know what you think in the comments section below. Who was your sort of outstanding defender of the season? And what about Jordan Pickford? Is this, or has this been Jordan Pickford's best season for Everton in terms of consistency? Not in terms of making worldy saves, like Ped said. He's had those moments in other seasons where he's produced the Chelsea one just off the top of your head, unbelievable saves, or he's had a performance where he's had great, but overall, just for consistency from start to finish, let us know if you think it was his best season. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. See you later.